I don't know whose number. Nee. That's okay.
Hi everyone, warm welcome. Um, I'm really glad to have you all here, and we're doing uh, this little process where we are kind of bringing ourselves in a space to slow down and notice whatever's already here and meet it with kindness. So this is not a workshop where it's about fixing something, trying to become a better person or uh, you know, and not bring judgment to ourselves. It's more about, just looking at what's here and and it's really not about changing anything today. Whatever is here, whatever we are going through, you know, and also the sharings, whatever you're writing, it's just for yourself. It's not, you don't have to share it if you don't feel comfortable. It's just an internal kind of process. We would,
Puneet, Puneet,
one second, I'd like to
have you
mute
started
somebody.
recording? I think you can highlight yourself and then start recording.
Sure. All right. Great. So we'll just get into. So I just want to explain a little bit about, what we're doing. So one thing is that, we are taking on small things that we already know that we should be doing, which we know that this is good for us, things like, I would want to eat better, or I should move more, exercise more, or I'd like to have a more consistent meditation practice. I'd like to be spend less time on my devices, on the screen, or what have you. So it's things that we already know that are good for us, that are supportive for us, and for some reason we are not able to do those. So we're just looking at those, and so from my experience personally, also I feel it's not always a lack of discipline. It's sometimes they are beliefs or patterns that have formed over time, which are quite invisible and subtle, but they're quietly running in the background, if you will, right? In what Buddhism we call as samskaras, something we learned from past experience. And because the pattern was repeated, it became stronger. And now it's, the repeated pattern, the repeating of those reactions has become a pattern. And basically, it will include things which are, which are our tendencies, our impulses, emotional reactions, or our beliefs, right? And the important thing to know is that we separate ourselves from this is not who we are, right? At a deeper level, these are just processes that arise due to conditions, right? Like within the, you've heard of the five aggregates or sanskaras. Sanskaras is one of the five aggregates. The five aggregates are the form or the body, feeling, like that's emotions, then our perceptions or mental formations. That's the fourth one, mental formations or sanskaras, which we simply can say are patterns, right? And so what we are looking at is that these processes or sanskaras are there, and the idea is not to suppress them or eliminate them or judge them. Instead, the idea here is to bring awareness to them. Bringing the awareness is the biggest part of it, and not reacting, not judging. Because when something is unseen, it controls us, right? When we are not aware, what is under this, under my behavior, then it remains unseen and it controls us. And if it's seen, but it's seen with aversion, that, oh, this is not good, and then it becomes stronger. I see this in myself and I judge myself. That only strengthens it. So today we are going to see some of those things and see it with compassion and clarity. And that is what will start loosening it, start softening that for us. So, for example, I just want to give some like examples, and you can see where you find yourself in this. It could be, something, a part of a behavior, a feeling tone, a thought or belief pattern that you have, and just see where this may apply. And some of it will, some of, not everything will be. So just, hold it lightly with whatever feels true for you and
Excuse
true for you in the moment. You don't have to go back and search all your history. Oh, when did I do that? Just take it for whatever is here and now present with us. So, like
me.
some of the, yes, Jayanti, you have a question for now?
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
five areas
Five
like
aggregates.
body, feel, five
Yeah,
aggregates.
body,
So
feeling,
body,
perceptions. Perceptions is how we see things.
mhm,
Then the
yeah,
fourth one is mental formations or samskaras. And fifth is consciousness, awareness.
okay. Thank you.
Yes. So, I just want to give examples and how these patterns may have evolved or developed in ourselves. So, something like maybe as a child you felt very overwhelmed, and excuse me, and the reaction was you felt anxiety or you felt a tightness, and the pattern that became from your overwhelm or feeling too much became that you withdraw, right? You become a little withdrawn and you don't necessarily notice it at that time. But in your adult life, it could be showing up as things like procrastination, things like avoiding difficult conversations, or being like staying busy instead of being present. So, what started as something in a protective way became a limitation. Or sometimes somebody was, sometime a child was always corrected, and there was a lot of criticism. Don't do this correctly. You're not doing this right, and that developed a reaction at that time would
वत्स
have been
नो
to become
फुल्का
more careful.
आपको भी
I
थोड़ी
will
सी
just
काफी
mute
वो
you, Anupama.
खाया हुआ है
Puneet, mute
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think everybody else is. Yeah. Sorry. So I was saying that, another pattern could have been that if we were, really criticized as a child, the reaction would have been of becoming very careful, very vigilant, and a kind of, some kind of shame might have developed. The pattern that forms is that I must do everything right, you know. And so in your life, it might be showing up as perfectionism. Like, Shubhra was talking about being creative. One of the things that gets in the way of that is, perfectionism. I want to do this perfectly, otherwise I don't do it, right? Or you're over functioning, or we also have a difficulty of in resting because we're so all the time, you know, we were told that, you have to do things so correctly. We just kind of stay in a hyper alert kind of mode, and and our nervous system is just set at that. It just stays in that pattern, or in kind of becomes a belief that I have to stay ahead of the game. I have to keep on top of things, right? Something like that. Or if somebody's environment was very unpredictable, the caregivers were either extremely, happy, pleasant, loving at one time, and then suddenly they were very angry, upset, so the environment was just unpredictable. And then the child didn't feel safe. And this could have happened with, caregivers, could have happened with a particular teacher that you felt, close to, could have been anybody. These influences could be from different people. It's not really a way of, this is all from, our parents did this wrong. And we're not trying to, put blame on anybody for that. It's just, we're just trying to look at where things could have come from. And this, where if it was things were inconsistent and the reaction was of fear, then the pattern that develops is to want to control everything. So in adult life, you will have very rigid routines. You will, have a difficulty of adapting to change. If some plans change, you will be very frustrated. And there will be like that tight inner pressure, like that you're just trying to control things. Could be something like that. Could be uh, another one if somebody was neglected, and by neglected, which means parents could have been busy, they could have been just trying to survive, working two jobs, whatever it is that was going on with them, or they were in some ways dealing with other things and they couldn't really focus on exactly what you needed as a child. Then the reaction could have been of sadness and becoming a little invisible, right? So that pattern which formed was that I don't need much, right? And that I'm very, what they call, low maintenance, right? I don't need much from anyone. And in our present circumstances, it might be showing up as we have a difficulty asking for help. We minimize our needs. We choose others over ourselves. So it could be like, and it can lead to a lot of burnout and depletion because we're just not taking care of ourselves and we're just putting everybody else's need above ourselves. And so these are some of the things which could have uh, shown up as so those were our reactions to situations at that time, and they didn't just disappear, they became our tendencies, they became these invisible patterns that are now shaping our choices, they're shaping our habits. And so we don't just live from intentions alone. My intention may be that I really must, I wake up and I start my day thinking that, okay, today I will, do this correctly. I will exercise, or I will, I make a plan on the 1st of January, I will exercise 5 days a week. So it can be that I have these good intentions, but we live from what is practiced. And some of these patterns which have been practiced come in the way, right? So what we'll do is in this practice, primarily we are practicing mindfulness to become aware of what's happening as it is happening. And mindfulness is, as you're aware, it's an ongoing thing. It's not something we just do once. It's an ongoing practice we keep coming back to. And 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 just when a sanskara arises and then it's met with mindfulness, the momentum is reduced, right? We start becoming aware, okay, I'm again doing this. I stop myself, right? And it doesn't get reinforced because I stop myself from doing it at that time. And then it slowly loses the charge gradually. So the idea is to do this slowly. It's not to do it with judgment and beating ourselves up. And compassion is very important, right? We have to be kind to ourselves. The pattern formed in order to avoid suffering, right? And even if it may not have been the best pattern, but it was there, it was helping us, it was protecting us in some way. So now when we meet it with compassion, that's when we can start creating a new condition, right? And that pattern can gradually unwind, right? So just wanted to go over some of this, and we can now get into actually, I'd just like to share some more of how these patterns show up, right? So one of the patterns I notice, and I notice in myself also, sometimes it's like an identity, like this is how I am, right? Like I often always believed I'm a night owl person. I've always been a night owl, right? And it may have started as somewhere in my teens, started as a coping mechanism that, at that time my house was quiet and nobody was saying anything to me. And it became my best way at that time, that that's the best quiet time that I got. But that was an adaptation in my home, but eventually it became an identity, and it started to feel permanent. We hear ourselves saying something like, this is how I am, right? And I guess about 10 years or so ago, I read a book on which talked about neuroplasticity, that our brains are changeable. The brain is constantly learning and it can change. It's not a given that, this is how I am is a fixed thing. That's a belief that, this is how I am. Once I start noticing that belief and I'm open to it, that's when I can start changing in small ways. And I don't have to live with that fixed identity of this is how I am, right? Other could be a belief of something being permanent, like this will always be here. I have always struggled with this, you know, this will never change, something like that. Sometimes we have this because the something that is permanent, that feels permanent, is because it's also familiar. It's what we are used to. So that's sometimes a belief. And you could check in yourself where in your life something like this could be showing up, right? Could be an identity, could be a permanence kind of belief that, I've tried this so many times, but it's just doesn't change at all. Or similar, like, or connected with this is that, that fear of we'll disappoint ourselves. And we'll disappoint ourselves uh, because we've tried and failed. We tried something and it didn't work out, or I did it, but I did it something for a week, I practiced, I exercised for a week or 2 weeks, and then something happened, life came in the middle, and then it stopped. And then I go back to my belief that, oh no, I cannot be consistent, and then then it feels very hard to restart, because there is this feeling of, oh, there I go again, and I failed before, and so now I don't want to kind of keep disappointing myself, right? So staying stuck in that sense uh, can feel sometimes less painful than being disappointed again, like, oh, I'm gonna fail again, so I don't want to try. So that avoidance, that can become a form of protection, could be in some things in our life, maybe that's happening. Or uh, something which is kind of, we put a condition on accepting ourselves, like, once I do this, then I will, if I do this for a month, then I'll start believing, or start uh, accepting, right? Once I'm consistent with this, then I'll be kind to myself. Or on the days I meditate, I will feel okay. So we start putting a condition around that. And then the days we don't, then we are more, like, in some subtle ways, we are we are unkind to ourselves. We don't have that warmth and understanding. We're a little more harsh with ourselves because I didn't do this today. I didn't do this. And I'm just, in my mind, being critical and a little more harsh to myself. What's important to remember is that when kindness becomes conditional, right? When we're being kind to ourselves only in certain conditions, then we'll never feel safe. Our nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to change. Then we'll just stay back in the loop. We'll rather not try, rather not disappoint myself, right? And so that's again could be a pattern, that could be something to notice. And some patterns are like inherited, like, this is how it's always been. My family has always done something like this, my mom always did this, something we have taken from somewhere, right? And those emotions also, which have become patterns, and we think they're just us. The important thing that we're trying to recognize is that it's not a part of us. It's not inherently something is part of me. These are just processes and it's not who I am. Anyway, so I just wanted to start with that. We'll get into meditation now. So if you feel comfortable, just bring your awareness back to your breath. Get more comfortable in your seat. And if you like, you could close your eyes or lower your gaze. Just remember, this isn't just about clearing our mind or, removing some thoughts. We're just opening up space and getting in touch with what's here in our body. Just take a moment to notice how you're feeling in your body right now. Is there any kind of tightness, anything that you feel you're holding on in your body? Just as I brought attention, I noticed a little tightness in my stomach, maybe from that little fear of speaking up in front of people. Notice any tightness in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, in your arms. Just become present to whatever's here. Any sensations in your chest, in your belly. Notice the heaviness as you sit in your seat. Just your seat supporting the weight of your body. Bringing attention to your legs, all the way from your thighs to your calves, ankles, in your feet, soles of your feet. Just noticing any warmth, any pressure, any sensations. And again, bring attention back to your breath. Do you notice it in your nostrils, in your chest or your belly? But just watching the natural breath. We're not trying to change it, lengthen the breath. Just noticing the way it is. See if anything comes to mind, any everyday situation. Not a big issue, just a simple everyday thing. Could be wanting to sleep earlier, wanting to not eat too much processed food or sugar, just something simple that you know it's good for you, but you're not following through with it. Or maybe you just want to slow down and get more rest, but you find yourself constantly rushing. Just see if any moment like that comes to your mind. And as you notice this, see what happens in your body. Do you feel any restlessness, any tightness, heaviness? We're just trying to see if this pattern, where it lives in our body. It's just probably just a sensation. And you can say to this sensation, just quietly say, I see you. Whatever this pattern is, say, I see you. And notice what happens when the experience is seen rather than resisted. Then you could gently say to it, this makes sense. Because it just didn't come from nowhere. It probably has a history. We don't want to go too much into the history and bring up all the thoughts of the past. We're just telling the pattern that we recognize that it makes sense. And if it feels all right, then you may say to it, I accept you no matter what. Could be to my tendency for being a perfectionist, or rigid in some ways, or controlling or critical. And to that part of me that's critical or judgmental, I say I accept you no matter what. Just unconditional acceptance. And notice if either there's a softening or there's resistance. Both are welcome. There is a resistance to, feeling complete acceptance of that. That's fine. We just allow that to be here. And we can offer this same pattern, saying, I'm here with you. You don't have to be alone anymore. Because if you could see this part of myself that's judging or that's critical, maybe I've pushed it to some corner. When I'm bringing it acceptance, I'm saying to it, I'm here with you. And just for a couple of moments, stay with this, not doing anything, not trying to change it. Just being with whatever is here. The awareness is already doing the work, just becoming aware. Just notice if anything shifted or softened, even slightly. Just putting a little bit separation, a little more space, just bringing a little more gentleness. When we slow down like this, sometimes things become a little more clearer, not not really from a thought perspective, more like intuitively. So whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. We'll do a little journaling now. I want to suggest this prompt. You can start by writing about what pattern or what thought came up for you. You could write a little about that. And then specifically to say that when I stay in this pattern, what is it trying to take care of? Because we're bringing awareness and acceptance to it. Could just help for a couple minutes to write about when I stay in this pattern, what's it trying to take care of? How is it helpful? We'll just take 2 minutes for this and then we'll write another. We'll take a couple of minutes to write. You don't hear music, Leena? Mm, no. I hear music. I'm not sure.
I
Or
still hear
Neha, it
vocals.
could be something like, is there a reason why it's here? And whatever the pattern is there a reason? Is there a reason for the pattern? And if you're done, you could also write about what does this cost me over time? If I continue to be in the same way, what's the cost? Is there a downside? Is there something I'm losing by doing this? By continuing to stay with that pattern? We'll take one more minute. I put up this in the kind of the last question. So, what might compassion for this part look like right now? If I were to bring some kindness, some gentleness, what would that look like? And wherever you are, that is okay. It's, it could be a long-standing pattern. We've had it for, for decades in our life, and we don't want to beat ourselves up that, oh, why am I still carrying this, or why am I still not able to, change this or fix this. Just bringing awareness, just opening up the space and acceptance for it, that is a very big step already. That's very good already. Hi, Anupama. Good to see you. All right. So that was, I mean, you could continue if more comes up for you, and, be open to more things coming up. When we open up something, there might be something similar to this, or some, other patterns which are also on the same lines that might be coming up. So just be open to, things coming up in the next few days, and then you might just want to write about it. You might just want to journal about what comes up. So I know I said that you don't need to share any of it. It's for your own this thing, but if anybody wants to ask anything, share anything, anything that you feel that came up for you, but you can talk about it in this group. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just wish to thank you, Puneet, for another very calming meditative practice. It was very calming, and yes, it's a very very significant thing that I think if there's acceptance for both the good and the bad, I think life becomes quite peaceful. Yes, the ongoing process of trying to improve upon whatever limitations we are aware of, which we personally consider our limitations, that process also has to continue or should continue, but to the point where it stops disturbing you emotionally and mentally. I think
Yeah.
That is the important thing. Yes, awareness is very, very important, definitely. And sometimes, I mean, what I personally feel is I do realize, yes, I should not be critical, I should not be judgmental. Try to, experience life in that particular person's place, for whom I have for a part of whose personality maybe I don't like or whatever. So I think once we try to be in that other person's shoes, a lot changes inside, and you suddenly realize, yes, I don't think I have a right to judge that person the way I am. Rather than what needs is probably that person needs my empathy, or just like I should just accept that person the way he or she is. So
Yes.
these are really very powerful thoughts. And thank you so much for another very beautiful session. Wonderful.
Thank you, Anupama, for sharing. Because yes, you're right. See, acceptance is always the missing part. Many times we try to jump. We say, okay, I have awareness now, and now how do I fix it? We try to go straight
Yes.
to, now I change this, now I make a choice, I make, take the
Yeah.
action. But often that
Correct.
accepting part is where, sometimes we lag. And also, like my teacher Nitya always says that, there is, wanting to, there is, everything is perfect the way it is, including
Yes.
the wanting or the desire to change it, right? Even that
Yes.
is something that,
Yeah, that's right.
that's part of it. Even that is in its place. Because
Yeah.
now, if today I'm ready and open to look at something that I want to change, that also is
Yeah.
in the right place. I wasn't in that place for many years, maybe, but now I
Yes.
am. So, yeah,
Absolutely correct. Absolutely true. Nitya has deeply influenced so many of
all of
us.
us. Yes.
So many of us, yes. Forever filled with gratitude, because he has not only influenced us, but he has opened a whole wide world of coming in contact with such wonderful, gracious personalities like you.
He
You
brought us
know,
all together, actually. Yes.
so
Very
he's
grateful.
made into a huge family of such talented and such evolved people. So it's such a wonderful pleasure. It's a pleasure actually to spend as much time as possible listening to him, attending his sessions, attending sessions like yours. So I feel filled with gratitude of how it's just magical how it happened, you know.
Honestly, I agree with
Mhm.
you. Yes. We are very,
You
very
know,
grateful. Bizen came
yeah.
about because of Nitya.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think he's inspired so many. I don't know. Probably it's difficult to even count.
Yeah. I owe
Thank
the
you.
biggest change shift in my life to Nitya. So, like, I have no words.
Great. Great. Thank you, dear.
Yes. Yes, Bina, and all the gifts from the Share Your Gifts group. Yeah.
Mm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anybody, I know I should have mentioned at the beginning that I knew that today was not going to be a half-an-hour session because we were planning to include journaling and this. So I thought we will have about an hour of session today. I should have mentioned it at the beginning. But yeah, we're almost at that. Manisha?
Yeah. No, for me, the fact, that acceptance and, Ho'oponopono teaches us that we need to take 100% responsibility. And that makes such a difference. When you take responsibility and you stop playing the blame game,
Mm,
and then it's so much easier to come into acceptance. And it brings so much peace to every situation that, you encounter.
yeah.
So Ho'oponopono has really like opened up a whole new world to me for, forgiveness and taking responsibility, reflections,
Mm.
acceptance and everything.
Yeah. See, the taking responsibility is the biggest part, right? That's why we even come to something like this, to even listen to what might be my patterns, what might be going on with me. That itself, the first step is, many people might not be there, that they're ready to even look at their own patterns. What is it that it's in me that's you know repeating these situations in my life? Many people will not be there, so us taking the first step to even listen to or attend something like this is
Why
is
am I
taking
experiencing it?
responsibility.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
am I experiencing it? And I take
yeah,
100% responsibility for this
yeah.
experience, good or bad.
Right, that's so beautiful to bring that in, that we are taking responsibility,
Yeah.
to be present to something like this, because it does bring up discomfort when you look at something in yourself. Oh yeah, I have been doing this, I have been judging, I have been, you know it brings up discomfort to do that, and to be open to sit through that discomfort. That's part of, that, like you said so beautifully, taking responsibility, 100% responsibility. Yeah, very well said, Manisha. All right. Anybody else would like to share, or I can close the recording? And then also you can still share if you like.
Yeah, but
All right.
journaling is very important and it's very transforming.
Right. That's why I said if I just speak about it and end with the meditation, that's why I wanted to keep some space for integrating some of this, and journaling is great for integrating. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'm just closing recording and stopping the recording.